Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent Switch/gaming video for this week, for the week of June 2nd to June 4th, and we got about 8 stories to cover this week as we gear up and get close to E3. I also want to cover some quick stuff that recently came out, as we have now heard about rumors that basically the Nintendo E3 digital presentation, or their E3 Direct, rumor has it that it could be about 45 minutes long, which, if that's true, obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff they're going to cover. Hopefully they cover a lot of things and not make a good chunk of it just focus on just one game, to be exact. We also heard rumors and basically some tease by the actor who did the main character for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, teasing about The Witcher 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch, which I will say that although I'm still taking a wait and see approach on this one and still treating it as a rumor, I am starting to feel that there's certainly a lot of smoke coming from this rumor and about The Witcher 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch. And the old saying goes, if I'm saying this correctly, where there's smoke, there is fire, though. So to me, I feel there's a lot of smoke coming from this rumor, though. But again, we'll have to wait and see until we hear an official confirmation. Not to mention, CD Projekt Red has not come out and denied it or anything like that, and maybe we'll hear something at E3 next week. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Plus, we also heard that as of right now, Persona 5 Royal is currently only going to be on the PS4 at this time, as there are no plans at this moment to bring it to other systems, like I think PC or Xbox One or even Nintendo Switch. I'm a little disappointed with that decision to do that, though, but you know what? It's their call, and whether or not that's a smart move or not, we'll have to wait and see. And as far as Persona for the Nintendo system right now, I think we only have the Persona Q1, I think the newest one for the 3DS, and of course we have the Persona 5 Scramble, which is Scramble, if I'm saying the name correctly, which is basically a warrior style type of a game, which may or may not appeal to a lot of people. So we'll have to wait and see if Sega and Aulx, if I'm saying their name correctly, decide to change their opinion down the road. But for right now, where it stands, it looks like Persona 5 Royal will stay currently at this time on the PS4. So with that out of the way, we'll get started with our 8 subjects this week that caught my attention, and we'll start with the first one, and that is with Gamestop. And this one has to do with rumors going around about several leaks. So as we are gearing up for E3, as we are aware, the rumor mill is starting to spread a little bit, though, although it looks like some of the leaks have kind of been plugged this time around. But apparently we're learning that GameStop is putting up some pre-orders, and there's certainly some big ones for not only the Switch but also the PS4, and then some from Xbox One as well. Comicbook.com, if I can get it out, here it is. It reads, GameStop database lists dozen of unannounced PS4, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One games. It reads, quote, E3 is right around the corner, which means dozen of Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One games announcements and reveals are imminent. That said, some big players like Sony pulling out of E3 this year, leaving many wonder just how many announcements and reveals could happen during the show. Well, if a new leak out of GameStop is anything to go off of, there are still going to be plenty of announcements for the PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo gamers to get excited about. Today, Nintendo journalist and leaker Sabi, S-A-B-I, again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, posted some images on Twitter of GameStop's Eternal system that featured 21 untitled Nintendo Switch games, 20 PS4 games, and almost as many Xbox One games. Now, each of these SKUs could be different editions for one game, so they may not be this many unannounced console games, but as they posted, though, there's quite a bit. According to what this person is saying, though, this person basically wrote on Twitter, GameStop add about 21 new Nintendo Switch stock keeping units All games, no console. If I had to guess, the $200 games is probably some sort of bundle or premium edition. We'll post more images. This person later posted, printed out a paper. This was sent by a GameStop employee on my server. Reminder that SKUs are just probably placeholders for new games, so don't tell us much, but are great for speculation. The other one says, and then finally this person wrote, over 20 new PS4 games listed, a little less Microsoft games. Point out, quote, of course, as Sabi, S-A-B-I, pointed out, some of these games may not be revealed at E3 or anytime soon, but nonetheless, it seems like E3 is not going to be as quiet as many people think. Further to the fact that there are more PS4 games in the system than Xbox One may suggest that Xbox won't be announcing any first-party or second-party titles. Rather, a bulk of revealing coming E3 will be third-party, with a few Nintendo exclusives sprinkled in there. So apparently, this is kind of interesting to see a lot of these SKUs, especially for the Nintendo Switch, shows up. But like the article says, some of these could be basically just placeholders. Some of these could be games that might be announced at E3, and some of them may not be announced at E3 at all. It could be announced maybe at a later date. I am very curious to see what these so-called, let me check, I think it's 21 games for the Switch. Let me double check that again. It says, 21 untitled Nintendo Switch games, and obviously we have 20 PS4 games as well. So I'm a little curious to see what these games are, though. It will be interesting to see if any of these are like the rumored, if one of them turns out to be the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Again, still taking until there's an official confirmation, but I can't rule that out entirely, though. Some of these could be games that Nintendo is ready to show. Remember, they have a history of keeping their secrets to their chest, though. Sometimes that works in their favor, and sometimes it doesn't always work in their favor. But overall, I am very curious. I'm hoping we'll see more. Hopefully, some of those games will be revealed at E3 this year, though. But overall, like I said, I am curious to see what those games turn out to be. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with rumors that Banjo-Kazooie could see a revival. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My Two Cent video for this week, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a rumor in regards of Banjo-Kazooie. Now, I remember playing the original Banjo-Kazooie back in 1998, though this was during when I was in my, I think it was my sophomore year in high school, to be exact. And I remember playing it on the Nintendo 64, and it was certainly a fun game, following in the footsteps very similar to that of Super Mario 64 back in the day, though. They did do a sequel to it, which is Banjo-Tooie. Unfortunately, I never got around to finishing that one. My brother did as well, but that was too also a fun game as well. So it was also interesting to learn back in 2002, after Star Fox Adventure, about how Rare would eventually be sold to Microsoft, and well, since then, Rare's reputation hasn't exactly been the best. They've released several games that haven't always got a lot of people's best of attention, like Grab by the Ghoulies and all that stuff. And they also did another Banjo-Kazooie game called Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, although I heard not everyone was a big fan of it. And of course, the original Banjo-Kazooie development team went to form their own studio, Playtonics, in which they would also release the game Yooka-Laylee. I will be mentioning about the Yooka-Laylee game later in this video. But in the meantime, it seems as though Banjo-Kazooie could be making a comeback. Whether it's a revival, whether it's a brand new entry or a remake or anything like that remains to be seen, but if this report is true, we may hear something about it at E3, particularly at Microsoft's presentation. From an article from Nintendo Enthusiasts, though, link will be in the description, it reads, quote, exquisite, EXQUISITE, gaming, EXG, production license merchandise, produce licensed merchandise of various franchises and pop culture, especially for video games. On Twitter, they have teased an image of a brand new Banjo-Kazooie merchandise that's soon to be announced. But on top of that, Banjo is sporting a new backpack design in the image, suggesting that this merch is connected to a new game project of some kind. EXG video game merchandise often launches alongside new game properties, so things are looking good. Basically, it started with a tweet by someone with the hashtag #BringBackBanjo, and it shows headed into E3, and it has Banjo saying, and part of my language on this one is, "Aw shit, here we go again." And then EXG tweeted back by saying, quote, we can't wait to bring back Banjo, not long till we officially announce," and it showed that image and picture. Later on, it got a, quote, a comment from Papa Geno, Genos, that read, quote, "Yeah, I've heard they trend to conclude with stuff for the characters. Crash with Trilogy, Sonic with Mania, Spyro with Reunited, Iron Man with Endgame, so maybe Banjo-Kazooie with a question mark," and they answer, "We couldn't possibly say." The article basically reads, quote, "Some are speculating that this tease means Banjo-Kazooie will appear as a DLC for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and while that would be awesome," the person who wrote this article says, "I really doubt it. Although we have heard comments by Phil Spencer, who has expressed interest of Banjo-Kazooie appearing in Super Smash Bros. Whether that truly happens or not, that remains to be seen." What's more likely is that Microsoft and Rare will announce a new Banjo-Kazooie game of some kind for the Xbox One, whether it's a remake or a brand new entry. Following two entries on the Nintendo 64, a surprisingly awesome Isometric, Isometric, again, I apologize, I can't say the name correctly, platformer on Game Boy Advance and some game GBA racing game, the only brand new Banjo to ever appear on Microsoft console was Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts on Xbox 360. That was 11 years ago. More than enough time has passed to reignite the demand for Banjo, although its spiritual successor Yooka-Laylee is pretty decent too. If the Xbox One game is indeed announced, let's hope it goes the way of Cuphead and gets a Switch port. So basically, this tease does sound like we could be seeing a new Banjo-Kazooie game, and for one, that would be great. I would love to see Banjo-Kazooie make a comeback. The only problem is that most of the team that used to work at Rare, though, have left and gone with basically, like I said earlier, with the form of Playtonics, and they also released their game Yooka-Laylee. So I'm a little curious to see if that magic that was there for the Banjo-Kazooie series is still there. What's also going to be interesting to see is, given the relationship Microsoft and Nintendo have at this time with Cuphead coming to the Nintendo Switch, it will be really interesting to see if this also makes its way to the Nintendo Switch as well. Now, it's too early to tell, and we don't know if that will ever happen or anything like that. But with Microsoft kind of cozying up with Nintendo a little bit, with them releasing Cuphead, and hearing rumors that they are looking at bringing games like ranging from Ori and the Blind Forest to possibly trying to bring Gears, Forza, and Halo to the Nintendo Switch. For now, that is a rumor, though. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Banjo-Kazooie could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. Again, it's way too early to tell if that is going to happen or not. We'll have to wait and see. Perhaps we'll hear something at E3. But for now, if a new Banjo-Kazooie game is coming, obviously it's going to be coming to the Xbox One, unless they announce it for their next console, which is rumored to be called Xbox Scarlet. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility if they bring it to, say, PC. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility of it coming to the Nintendo Switch. For now, though, I would say more than likely it's going to come to the Xbox One if they're working on a new Banjo-Kazooie game. We also know they're working on a new Battletoads game as well. So, overall, I definitely want to see Banjo-Kazooie make a comeback. I don't know if it's going to have the same kind of magic like the first two Banjo-Kazooie games on the Nintendo 64, and it's unclear at this time if it's going to actually come to Nintendo Switch. But given Microsoft and Nintendo's relationship so far, and given that we saw Cuphead come to the Nintendo Switch, and for what I understand, do very well based off of the Nintendo eShop charts, I would say that there's a chance. Again, it's not a guarantee, but there is certainly a chance we could see it come to Nintendo Switch. But for now, like I said, I believe more likely it's going straight towards it's going to basically going to go to the Xbox One first, though, to be exact. Okay. In regards to the possibility of Code Vein coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Code Vein, or Code Vein, V-E-I-N. So now most of you probably have heard about this game. Many have dubbed it as sort of like an anime version of Dark Souls and so forth. And originally the game was supposed to come out last year, but got delayed due to the fact that basically there were some issues they wanted to work out as well. Now, this got to certain speculations about the possibility that they may be porting this over to the Nintendo Switch. On top of that, there was supposedly a listing, at least on Bandai Namco's website, that supposedly mentioned a Switch version, although that rumor got shot down, as most pointed out that might have been a typo. Well, it looks like Bandai Namco has responded in regards about the possibility of a Switch version for Code Vein, and while the statement that they basically put out makes it sound like does seem to indicate that there's no plans at this time of Code Vein for the Switch, it doesn't look like they are ruling it out entirely at all. From an article from Nintendo Soup, again, the link will be in the description of this video, it reads, though, previously, we reported on rumors that Soul-like RPG Code Vein could be heading to the Nintendo Switch. While Bandai Namco has not committed at all on the matter, one of the game's key developers have spoken up. In an earlier GameSpot interview, Code Vein producer dropped a quick nod towards the possibility of a Switch port. Namely, he mentioned the game could go beyond release on the PS4, Xbox One, and Steam as currently planned. And the producer said in the comments, and I quote, we are focusing on development for PS4, Steam, and Xbox One. But as far as the possibility of porting to Switch or the Epic Game Store, there might be a possibility down the line. We can't really say for sure at this point. What's interesting is that GameSpot did not specifically ask him about the game's release platform. The producer brought up the Nintendo Switch without any prompts. Of course, it's just likely he was simply predicting further questions about the topic. With a non-committed answer like that, Nintendo fans will just have to wait and see what happens at E3 or after Code Vein's official release. They'll say in the report back if we hear more. So basically what it's sounding like, based on how that question is, other than it's possible some will view it as sort of a PR spin, doesn't sound like a Switch version is in development, but they're not ruling it out entirely about the game coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, there is the possibility, and again, I'm not saying this is true or anything like that. This could be just a possibility that it is possible the Switch version could be in development, possibly by a port house, but they're not ready to announce anything, though. So there is always that possibility indeed. But for now, it does sound like there's no plans to bring it to the Switch or the Epic Game Store at this time, but it doesn't seem like they're ruling it out either. One thing to point out, I remember reading about this, is that Code Vein does run on Unreal Engine 4, and given the fact that the Switch does support Unreal Engine 4, it certainly does show that there is a chance it could come to the Nintendo Switch. Again, it's not a guarantee at all, but there is that chance we could see the game come to the Nintendo Switch. So overall, it doesn't sound like the game is in. Overall, it sounds like, based on what the producer of this game is saying, it doesn't sound like there are any plans to bring it to the Switch or the Epic Game Store right now, but it doesn't sound like they're ruling it out either. So we'll have to wait and see if it ever does come to the Nintendo Switch. For now, though, the game is basically scheduled to come out for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with a trademark filed for the collection of mana, and we could see it come to the West. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at the possibility that Collection of Mana could be making its way over to the West if a filing for a trademark in Europe turns out to be true. Now, I remember hearing about this game a while back. It was released in 2017 for the Switch and PS4, and from what I understand, it got mixed response from some people. Some people didn't like it, some people didn't like the art style and so forth. But again, everyone has a different approach and different take. But if this new trademark is to be believed, though, we could be seeing it coming to the West. From an article on Destructoid, link in the description, it reads, let me get it up. Okay, it reads that this past weekend, Square Enix filed a trademark in Europe for the Collection of Mana, following on form a similar trademark filing in Japan back in February of this year. While this, of course, is no official announcement or confirmation or anything, trademarks are filed by companies all the time just because. It also points out the possibility of the longtime publisher plans to localize the 2017 Second Desu collection to the West, SEIKEN-DENSETSU. Again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, though. Released for the Nintendo Switch in 2017. The collection consists of three the Secret of Mana games, titled SEIKEN. Basically, it has the Final Fantasy Gaiden or Final Fantasy Mystical Quest, Seki Tisano 2, which is Secret of Mana, and Seki Tisano 3, which I assume is Secret of Mana 2, but it could be Secret of Mana 3 to be exact, which has never seen a release outside of Japan. Here's hoping there's more than a furious legal maneuver, and we'll be hearing exciting news about these games, about these classic RPGs soon. I remember seeing Secret Mana, an ad for it when it was announced for the Super Nintendo back in the day, though. I never got a chance to try it out or anything like that, though, but it did gain a cult following. And it seems as though Square Enix might be bringing this game over to the West. Obviously, we have to wait and see what they announce at E3. We know that they're going to be announcing a couple games at E3. One of them is more likely the Avengers game that they're working on, though. But I am very curious about this one as well, though. I do hope that they announce that they'll bring it to the US too, and I hope there is plans for a physical version, to be exact, for the Nintendo Switch, though. If not, I mean, if there's plans to say, for example, there's a physical version in Europe, but no plans to bring a physical version to the West, there's always the possible option of course, importing it as well, considering that the Switch is region-free. And I've done that before with games like, say, One Piece Unlimited Red and One Piece Warriors, and of course with Onimusha as well. So we'll have to wait and see if they announce something at E3 next week. But overall, I would say That's fine. Let's see more of these titles come to the Nintendo Switch. I'm open to the idea of playing the collection of Mana since I never got a chance to try these titles out. But as always, we'll have to wait and see. And hopefully, like I said, we'll hear something at E3 this year. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and we're going to be taking a look at the Pokemon Direct that happened this week. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My True Sentin video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the recent Pokemon Direct that happened in regards of the upcoming release of Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Nintendo Switch. Now, obviously, one of the big games that Nintendo is going to be showing off this year, we'll probably hear more about it at E3, but probably, and I'm sure there are other titles Nintendo is showing, but one of their big ones, of course, this year is going to be the Pokemon Sword and Shield. And obviously, and while I'm not a big Pokemon fan, I won't deny the fact that there is definitely a big audience for the Pokemon series. And after seeing how well Detective Pikachu did at the box office, this brand isn't stopping anytime soon. So Nintendo basically had their Direct, and they talked about a couple of things about the Pokemon game, about their upcoming Pokemon game, Sword and Shield. We learned a little bit more about the region, some of the cast and characters, though. Some of it is stuff that we already knew and so forth, but there were some information that came out about it, though. Mainly, we learned about some new gameplay mechanics to some multiplayer mode, though. Some of the articles I picked up, some from My Nintendo, and this one from Collider, which points out a couple of things about the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield, though. It says, quote, before next week's E3, Nintendo opt to hold their own Pokemon-focused standalone showcase, which, honestly, I'm glad, which as a side note, I like to say I'm glad Nintendo did that. I think it would have been a mistake if they had put this on their Nintendo E3 digital presentation and had their presentation only focus on Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's one of the reasons why I wasn't a really big fan of last year's Direct, where a majority of it focused on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. It wasn't their worst digital presentation, but it wasn't their best one either. Anyway, back to the article, though. It says, quote, today Nintendo Direct had only one thing in mind, well, two if you want to be specific, Pokemon Sword and Shield, the latest addition to the core line of uber-popular catch-em-all games. While the game's starter Pokemon were treated earlier this year, along with the Galar region they reside in, where the game's action and adventure will take place. This short presentation revealed quite a bit more about the gameplay mechanics, other Pokemon in the region, and the human characters you meet along the way. The biggest change to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I mean that literally, are the combat mechanics. There's a new aspect called Dynamax, Dynamax, that allows you to embig your Pokepal size, power, and ability, but your opponents can wield this power too. It's a cool addition to the gameplay, and it looks to add some really dynamic visuals to the same old Pokemon battles. But there's another aspect we're looking forward to it as well. Multiplayer. You can team up with other trainers either in the vicinity of your wireless Nintendo Switch handheld or anywhere in the world if you got the hardware, and presumably the subscription service. So in other words, if you're going to take advantage of the online aspects for Pokemon Sword and Shield, you're going to have to use Nintendo's online subscription service. Whether you like their subscription service or not, that's going to be your preference and your point of view on that one. To connect with them for a unique opportunity to coming to the new game, Raids. You can participate with 3 other players in max raid battles, take on super powerful dynamics wild Pokemons, working together to defeat and capture rare creatures. Basically, the article also says Nintendo's landing page for all things Pokemon Sword and Shield are on top of things today with all new info available for your pursuit. They have some information to point out, and they also point out the release date for it, which is November 15th. They also point out a couple of things though. There's the starter Pokemons with the grass type Grookey. The chimp Pokemon comes with a special stick and sun power plant energy. Fire type Scorbunny. The rabbit Pokemon is a powerful runner and jumper with literally hearts of fire. And water type Scobble, the water lizard Pokemon, is a shy guy who possesses intimate camouflage and the ability to make other cry on demand. The site has basically had the basics down for the starter, but Nintendo's social media page has gone deeper. In addition to the starter, we've seen a few new Pokemons in the region. We got to introduce the beautiful flower monster Grossfiller. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Who evolves into Eldergross, the sheepish wool, whose wool is prized by artisans all over Galia. The powerful flying type Raven Moncorphanite, who, again, I have a hard time reading these names, who for unknown reason acts as a flying taxi for the player character, and the tough to tame bite Pokemon Druna. That's just the tip of the iceberg as far as new Pokemon go. They also showed off, I think, the legendary Pokemons, though, according to Nintendo America's tweet, and I saw this also in the Direct, though. Zacian, Zacian, which holds a shiny blade to its mouth that could cut through anything. In Pokemon Shield, this is one from Pokemon Sword. In Pokemon Shield, Zamazenta turns back any attack with the glam of the shield that covers its body. As far as the people of the Galia region, in addition to your allies, Professor Mangolia and her granddaughter Sonia will help assist you in your travels. You'll also face off against rival Hop, who trains hard in order to one day best his older brother and regain undefeated regional championship Leon. You'll face gym leaders on your path to be the very best, like Milo, the grass type Pokemon enthusiast. Literally the biggest change coming to the Pokemon game with the Sword and Shield is Dynamax. The Pokemon in big mechanics, this unique access occurs in certain areas in the Galar region. It looks like it's mostly confined to big area battles and raid zones, and while it boosts your Pokemon size and power set, it's limited. You can only use it once per battle, and the effect only lasts 3 turns, so use it wisely, though. So obviously they're setting up so not a lot of people can abuse it. However, only trainers who possess the Dynamax band are able to perform this, so hopefully the item will be available in-game after a presumed tutorial sequence. Another major fun factor, and this was mentioned, is of course the raid battle. They follow up with, you'll team up with 3 trainers to battle a Dynamax wild Pokemon. Their Dynamax size and abilities will remain throughout the entire battle, but only one of the 4 trainers will be able to Dynamax their Pokemon once per battle, so expect this could be a tough challenge than usual. The Dynamax Pokemon you face and can ultimately capture will change depending on which region you're in and even what the weather is like at that particular time. So it's kind of interesting, though. We're getting some information on it. Obviously, we'll have the starter Pokemon. Each obviously, Sword and Shield will have a different, unique Pokemon for each game, which isn't surprising. Some new gaming mechanics, and the fact that the game will offer basically a multiplayer both locally and about this, though. Again, like I said, I'm not really a huge Pokemon fan, but it is definitely one of the games I will keep an eye out and take a look at, though. I never really got into the series as much, and I tried the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and while those games are fun, I didn't like the decision that they went with the controls, where you basically use only one of the Joy-Cons. I really wish Nintendo had really added the ability to use, the Pro Controller, to be exact, though. But it wasn't a terrible game. It's just that I don't agree with the decision to go with that kind of control scheme, though. So we'll have to wait and see how this one is going to play out. But obviously, there's a lot of information there, and I'm sure a lot of diehard Pokemon fans are looking forward to when this comes out November 15th. And then, like I said, I may not be a big Pokemon fan, but I'm definitely going to give this one a try as when it does come out. And I'm glad that Nintendo decided to do a separate direct for Pokemon Sword and Shield and not try to make their E3 digital presentation just focus heavily on just Pokemon Sword and Shield only. So I think that was a smart decision on their part. As far as the online part, it's nice that they're offering it though, but at the same time, you have to subscribe to Nintendo's online service, which not everybody is a big fan of. Whether you think it's worth it or not, that's going to come down to your opinion on that. So it comes out November 15th, and I'm pretty sure we'll hear some information at E3 next week. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6. Yeah, 5. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Part 6, and this one has to do with THQ Nordic announcing 3 games that they announced this week before E3, and some of this is certainly had some people excited for. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 6 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at THQ Nordic. Now, THQ Nordic earlier this week teased about 3 games that they were going to announce this week, and there were many speculation of what those 3 games may be. Some pointed to Time Splitter, some pointed to Kingdom of Armor Reckoning or remake or something like that. But we wouldn't know until THQ finally spilled the beans, and they certainly did. And some of them were not what people expected. Others were very pleased to see these games sort of make a comeback. Basically, based on the 3 announcements, 2 of them are remakes, and 1 is a brand new entry into the series. We'll start with the first one, and the first one that apparently, based on what I've seen so far, kind of set the internet on fire a little bit. Everyone was kind of pleased with this, was SpongeBob SquarePants, and this one was Battle for Bikini Bottom. Now, I never played the original one when that came out in 2003 for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox One. And for what I understand, it got positive to mixed reviews. That said, it did sell very well, and apparently a lot of people did like it, though. I also heard about it being more like it's a 3D platform, almost kind of similar to Banjo-Kazooie, although, like I said, I never tried it, so I have to try it out myself. So from an article from, let me get it out, comicbook.com, it reads, quote, THQ Nordic kicked off its first of its new game reveal with an unlikely contender. A new SpongeBob SquarePants game. It's called SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, or a remastered version. And it's a remade version of the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was released more than 15 years ago for platforms like the PlayStation 2 and Game Boy Advance. The game has been faithfully remade, according to THQ Nordic, and it boasts some added features like a brand new multiplayer mode. The studio said on Tuesday that it was planning on revealing 3 games ahead of E3, and we now got the first one of those games. If you played the original game, you know what to expect, but if you haven't or just want to know more about it, what to change in the remake, THQ Nordic has covered with a brief description and some teasers. According to what they're saying, though, they're saying, quote, "Are you ready, kids? The cult classic is back, faithfully remade in spuntastic splendor." THQ Nordic says, play as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, and show the evil plankton that crime pays even less than Mr. Krabs. Want to save Bikini Bottom from lots of rampant robots? Of course you do. Want to underpants bungee jump? Why wouldn't you? Want to join forces in a brand new multiplayer mode? The battle is on. We don't have a release date for the game, but we do know it's coming to the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC platform. I assume Steam right now, but no word if this will be on the Epic Game Store at this time. Though THQ Nordic has revealed the game ahead of next week's big expo, it won't be bringing it to E3. The publisher confirmed this on Twitter, where it revealed the game, and Purple Lab Studio will be developing the title. From what I understand, they worked on the early access of, or still early access of, Guild 3, I think for PC. So it's kind of interesting to see this title come to all the platforms, including the Nintendo Switch. And I am a little curious to see what this multiplayer mode is. Is this going to be a local multiplayer mode? Is it going to be 4-player split screen? Will it have any online functionality? Will there be an online multiplayer mode? Is it all of the above? So I am very curious about this one. And I'm also very curious to try this game out myself. Like I said, some people actually liked it, even though the game got positive to mixed reviews on it. It still became a cult following. So this is one I'll try out as well. The other one, of course, was the announcement of a new entry in the Darksiders series titled Darksiders Genesis. From an article, let me get it out. Oops. From an article from Destructoid, it reads, quote, well, this is not how I was expecting the Four Horsemen to enter the Darksiders scene, but we'll have to do. While War, Death, and Fury have all gotten their proper action-adventure game focusing on themselves, the pistol-cladded Strife, S-T-R-I-F-E, hasn't had his moment yet until today. Darksiders Genesis has been fully revealed, and it's a dungeon crawler spin-off. Featuring War and Strife, this romp sees the duo accepting a new assignment to untangle a demonic conspiracy. Eventually, this will serve as a prequel of sorts, as the spin-off tends to do. From what I understand, it's a prequel. From what I understand, it may be a prequel to the first game, but I'm not 100% sure about that. This trend is isometric looter like Lara Croft and the Temple of Oasis / Guardian of Lights of something. I want to see continue. Interestingly, the game is confirmed for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Google Stadia. We'll probably see this whole thing a lot more today on, as Google is set to, of course, obviously reveal their stuff, so I'll get to that in a moment. So it's actually kind of interesting that they're doing what is supposedly is a Diablo-like spin-off, though. And I'm very curious to see how this plays out. They mentioned that it features War and Strife, but I'm curious to see if Death or Fury will make an appearance in this, whether it's playable characters or not. And I am curious to see, is this going to be like a single player only type of a game? Will this also, we could switch between the characters and so forth? Will this have any multiplayer component? Will it be local multiplayer? Will it have online multiplayer component? And I'm curious to see if this game will have like loot or anything like that. I remember Darksiders 2 being my favorite entry of the Darksiders series, focusing on loot as well in a Diablo style approach. And I'm wondering if they're going to have that too. Speaking of Darksiders 2, there's been reports that a Spanish retailer or Spain retailers pointing out Darksiders 2 coming to the Nintendo Switch, but we'll have to wait and see if that does truly happen, although I suspect Darksiders 2 is a given for the Nintendo Switch. So this one is kind of interesting, and it's one I'm willing to keep an eye out for as well. The release date, from what I understand, if they have put one up yet, supposedly they haven't announced a release date, although I've been hearing it might come out this year, so we'll have to wait and see. And supposedly it might be playable at E3, though I'm not 100% if that is true or not. And last but not least, the last announcement that was made was a remake of Destroy All Humans, the cult hit or classic on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2. Basically, according from an article from Destructoid, it reads, THQ Nordic continues to announce fresh announcements this week with the news that the 2005 adventure Destroy All Humans is being remade for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. The remake is being handled by Black Forest Games. Set in the heydays of 1950s America, Destroy All Humans players in control of a single alien, Kratos 137, as they run amok on planet Earth as the spearhead of a global invasion by their race. The Furons, Furons, if I'm saying the name incorrectly, I'm sorry. Crypto task is to harvest Furons' DNA in battle within the Earth's populations. Basically, on Earth's population. A fun trailer has been released, courtesy of IGN, featuring the music of German metal band Rammstein, Rammstein. On release, Destroy All Humans received praise from critics and the game community for its weary sense of humor, B-50 style movie authentic and wholesome appetite for destruction. As with the recent revealed SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Destroy All Humans will include new content that was cut from the original release. Right now, it's set for release in 2020 for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Interestingly enough, though, at this time, it doesn't look like it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, as far as we are aware of. Now, it's possible they could be waiting to make an announcement for a Switch version, like what we saw with Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster, where a listing for the PS4 and Xbox One was happening, but there wasn't an announcement for a Switch. Then later, there was something popped up showing it was coming to the Switch, then it was taken down, and it wasn't until an official Nintendo Direct that we learned that Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster was coming to the Nintendo Switch. So there is always that possibility, but there's also that possibility the game may not be coming to the Nintendo Switch at all. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait to hear an official comment from THQ Nordic. But for now, as of where it stands though, it looks like it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, I assume via Steam. And it's kind of interesting that they have decided to revive two of their IPs, though, or one being the licensed game and one being a game that series that most people thought was being dead. And of course, the fact that they are bringing in a new entry into the Darksiders series. So that certainly is interesting and nice that they did this. And it will be very interesting to see what they have to show at this year's E3 and all. So overall, I would say interesting surprise THQ Nordic show this week, though. I'll look forward to trying out SpongeBob SquarePants when it does come to the Nintendo Switch. Darksiders Genesis is certainly got my interest, though. And I am glad that they are bringing back Destroy All Humans, though. It is a little unfortunate, however, that there's no announcement for the Switch version. It's possible it could happen, but it's also a possibility that there may not be any plans for a Switch version at all. So we'll have to wait and see. But my overall takeaway for this is that very interesting. THQ Nordic announced some of these games. Some of these may appeal to some people may not, but we'll have to wait at E3 to find out if they have any more surprises. So, but very neat on some of these surprises THQ Nordic showed off for this week. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 7, and this one has to do with Google announcing some more information in regards of the Google Stadia that is being prepared to be launched this year. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 7 of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Google Stadia, and more information came out about it, though. Now, ever since it was announced that Google was entering the gaming market, and ever since they showed off their idea what Google Stadia is, though, some people have been kind of mixed to the responses best. Not everybody seems to be a big fan about it or has jumped aboard on it, though, because not a lot of people like the idea of cloud streaming. Other people believe it's going to fail and all that stuff. But at the same time, it also got some people interested in it, and it also got some of the gaming industries, the big three, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, speaking out about it. As we've seen recently, Microsoft and Sony teaming up for adding some streaming service, as many believe that cloud streaming is the future of gaming, which I'm kind of mixed on that response, because while I certainly can see it being the future, though, some people still prefer, buying the physical copy and so forth. And yeah, I'm kind of one of those people as well. But nevertheless, I do think that what Google is proposing is certainly interesting. And if they can execute it properly, though, it could be a game changer. I'm not saying it will or anything like that. It's way too early to know for certain if it will happen or anything like that, but it does have the potential of being a game changer. Well, now this week, Google released a video called the Strata Connect, which is sort of their own take on, the Nintendo Direct, much like how Nintendo has with their Direct, or Sony with their State of Play, and Microsoft with their Inside Xbox and so forth. And while I still have some questions and I'm still taking a wait and see approach, there are some things that I do like that they are doing. So from an article from IGN, which breaks down some of the information that has come out so far about it, they talked about all the information about terms of gameplay lineup and when it's going to be launched and the price, though. According to what IGN is writing, though, it says Strata, S-T-D-I-A, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, will be available in November, and the only way at launch to access the cloud-based service will be via the Founders Edition. Google will reveal more details about future about how players can access the Strata in 2020 and beyond beyond the Founders Edition. Strata will be available in 14 countries via the Founders Edition, which are the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. More regions will be added in 2020 according to Google. Google Strata will be available at launch in the following platforms: desktop via Google Chrome browser, TVs with a Chromecast plugged in, tablets, Google phones, Pixel 3 and Pixel 3a, although they're saying that other devices will be added going forward, though, so it'll be interesting to see if stuff like, say, for example, like the iPhone is added to it, or the iPad, or anything like that. So for now, though, it seems to be only confined to, Google products or the Comcast plugin for the moment, though. As far as the Founder Edition's details, though, currently available for pre-orders, the Founder Edition will cost $129.99, in other words, $130, and includes the following: limited edition Night Blue controller, Comcast Ultra, normally retails at $69.99, $70, 3-month Strata Pro subscription, first chance to claim a Strata name, 1 3-month Buddy Pass to give Strata Pro to a friend. In terms of the details of the Strata Pro subscription, it said Strata, if I'm saying it incorrectly, Pro is a Google subscription service that players can access as part of Strata's for details on games, free games, and better streaming capability. While the Founder Edition comes bundled with 3 months of it and 3 months for another friend to subscribe to it, it will normally cost $9.99 per month, $10 per month. Most notably, Strata Pro will be required to play with up to 4K 60 frames per second FPS, HDR, and 5.1 surround sound capability for your Strata games. Strata Base, available in 2020, will let you stream games only up to 1080p 60 frames per second. In addition to the stream quality, Strata Pro also gives you access to exclusive discounts on games for purchases, as well as free games similar to Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus that will be made available at a regular CADENCE. Those free games will be accessed so long as your Pro subscription is active, similar to PlayStation Plus free game. In addition, for a limited time, Strata Pro will give players full access to Destiny 2, including the base game, all previous release add-ons, and a new expansion and annual pass. Players will even be able to transfer their Destiny 2 Guardians from other platforms. Currently, PC and Xbox One are confirmed to support this feature. Strata Pro has all the benefits as Strata Base as well, which will be an available way to play in 2020. As mentioned above previously, Strata Base supports up to 1080p 60 frames per second streaming with stereo sound. Players can purchase and indefinitely keep any games available via Strata Base, and therefore Strata Pro will be available to play in a Chrome browser or any computer or a Pixel 3 or 3a phone, with plans to expand to other phones over time. In terms of the Strata Base, Google Strata will offer, as I mentioned above, Google Strata Base beginning in 2020. With Strata Base, players will simply be able to buy games via Strata and play them on Google's cloud gaming platform with the following features: up to 1080p 60 frames per second with stereo sound, buy and keep the games you want, play in a Chrome browser or any computer, or on your Pixel 3 or Pixel 3a phone, expanding to other phones over time. All Strata-based feature, of course, available to Strata Pro subscription. So, from what I understand, this one will be, I believe, let's see if I get this correctly though. This one, I believe, will be free as well. So, let me see if this is right. Let's see, the Strata Foundation. Oops, wrong article. Let me see if I can get back and get that one in just a minute. Just hang on one second. Oh, okay, here it is. The free non-subscription version will be released next year, according to what Gamestop is saying. Though it says Strata Base is the basic version of the service. You don't have to pay any fee to use it. The games themselves will still cost money and are purchased individually, but with Strata Base, you could stream the games to your PC, TV, or mobile device for free. With Strata Base, you'll be able to stream games up to 1080p 60 frames per second. Google did not provide a more specific time frame for Strata Base release beyond 2020, so it's unknown exactly how much longer we will have to wait for it though. As far as the launch window for the games go, it says Google has announced over 20 publishers and developing partners who will be putting their games on the Strata platform. Some of the games they have here are Doom Eternal, Doom 2016, Rage 2, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Wolfenstein Youngblood. They have games from Capcom, Deep Silver's Metro Exodus. Electronic Arts will be putting their games up there. Baldur's Gate 3 will be on Strata. From what I understand, that's an exclusive on it for now. I don't know if it's a time exclusive or a permanent exclusive, but for what I understand, it might be coming to PC as well. So obviously, it's going to be a time exclusive based on if I'm reading this correctly. And of course, it's possible we could see it on consoles down the road as well. But for right now, it seems to be going on. For right now, it's going to be on the Google Strata. Rockstar will have some of their games on there as well. Square Enix will have Final Fantasy 15. Also, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raiders, though. 2K will have NBA 2K and Borderlands 3, although I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Handsome Collection go on there as well. Warner Brothers will have Mortal Kombat 11, but we'll probably see other games from them as well. THQ with Darksiders Genesis, but again, I'm sure other games will pop up there too. Ubisoft will bring Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Just Dance, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Tom Clancy The Division 2, Trial Rising, The Crew 2, but I'm sure there will be other details as well. So I will say, based on what I've seen so far about the Google Strata, though, it does sound, I'm getting a little bit more interested in it as well. And there are some interesting ideas about this, though. One area I do like that, especially from GameStop, is, GameSpot to be exact, is the Strata Base one, which is the basic version where you don't have to pay $9.99 a month like you do have to do with the Pro or anything like that. You still have to buy the games and purchase them all, but you could stream them from your PC, TV, or mobile devices, and it holds up to 1080p 60 frames per second. So I definitely like that. I'm glad that they added that feature, and it's maybe, if I do decide to get this, I might be going with the base one as well. Unfortunately, at this time, though, we don't have, other than a 2020 release date, we don't have an official when it's going to be available and all that stuff. On top of that, we don't know about basically whether or not, about in terms of buying these games, will there be like any kind of refund policy, to be exact? I mean, we've heard about, I think Steam has a refund policy and all that stuff, so we don't know if that's going to be added into that or according to what Kotaku is showing off, courtesy, I believe, from Jason Strider, though, you know, the guy who's famous for putting out, you know, a lot of really interesting stories, including what's been going on at BioWare with the whole issue with Anthem and all that stuff. According to what we've heard, in terms of connections, it shows Strata supports a range of resolutions and internet speed. The recommend minimum is basically 10 MBSP. If you have it at that, though, you could get like 60 frames per second stereo at 720p. At 20 Mbps, it looks like you can get 1080p HDR video, 60 frames per second, 5.1 sound. And at 35, which they're considering to be the best, Mbps, you can get the 4K one. So it looks like the minimum is 10 Mbps and the best is 35. So if it's within that range, you will probably, if you have it in that range, you probably is good to go. So I will say my overall takeaway from their event and what I saw is this. I like some of the stuff that they're showing, though. I'm still not sure if this is going to take off well or not. So right now, I'm still taking a wait and see approach. There are some things I do like, though. I do like the fact that they're offering a base one where you don't have to do a subscription fee, like unlike with the Pro or the Founders Edition, although the Pro and all that stuff has more feature than the base edition, though. And I still think there are some questions that still need to be asked, like how much is this going to cost and so forth. So still a lot of questions at this time, but my overall takeaway is that some of the stuff I like, but I'm still taking a wait and see approach. And whether this truly becomes a game changer or not remains to be seen. As for what impact this will have on like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, again, it's too early to tell, though. It might impact Sony and Microsoft, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions, though. It might impact Nintendo, but right now I would say I'm leaning towards a no at this moment, because although the Google Stadia promotes itself that you could play on any device, anywhere, in a way, I do think there's going to be limitations to it, especially considering if the place doesn't have an internet connection, unlike the Nintendo Switch, where they are really promoting this as a console handheld hybrid that you could play anywhere you want. So I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach on this. So yes, there are some things I like. I think the base one does sound interesting, at least for me, though. But for right now, it's still a wait and see approach. And we'll see if this truly does take off or if it does flop. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to get to part... there we go. Part 8, and this one has to do with the announcement of a brand new Yooka-Laylee game from Playtonic. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our, let's see, there we go, with our 8th and final part of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Playtonic's new game that they announced, or they teased yesterday, or on the Thursday, which is a sort of a spin-off to the Yooka-Laylee series, although some are calling it a sequel, they're saying it's not, and it's called Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Now, before I begin talking about Yooka-Laylee, or mention the first one, I do want to stress and point out, and I do want to give a full disclosure, though, I was a backer of the original Yooka-Laylee when that was announced for Kickstarter, though. Any opinions I have about that game are my opinion and my opinion alone, and I'm not being paid, sponsored, or endorsed by the publishers or the developers, so I just want to give that little disclosure out there. With that out of the way, we'll talk about this new spin-off, though. Now, when the original Yooka-Laylee came out, it was mixed at best. Most of the criticism was more directed towards the Xbox One version, where some people had issues with some of the gameplay to some of the frame rate in that game. The PS4 also got some issues as well, but not nearly as bad as the Xbox One version, which ultimately got a patch, and eventually that was fixed, though, and it's now in a better state than it was when it was originally launched. Eventually, the game came out several months later for the Nintendo Switch, and when I finally tried it out, I would say it was a fun game, and you definitely sense the spirit of the Banjo-Kazooie series in it. Obviously, it wasn't going to dethrone at the time Super Mario Odyssey or anything like that, and I certainly did not see that game happening, but I did enjoy it. Nevertheless, not everyone was a big fan of the game, though, and while I understand why not everybody may have not enjoyed it, though, I do think some of the hate, at least from my opinion, was a bit unwarranted. Some of it may be some people took it maybe a little too far, especially after the whole issue with JonTron and how Playtonic was not going to be working with JonTron over some comments he made, and some of the hate, I think, kind of was because of that as well, and I thought, you know what, that was their decision and their decision alone. But nevertheless, not everybody was a fan of the game, and some people maybe just didn't like the gameplay and all. Well, we learned this week that Playtonic will be introducing their spin-off called Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer, which to them, they're not calling it a sequel, even though Game Radar's article is saying that it is, though, but they're saying it's sort of a spin-off and all. And based on the video they showed off, it looks like it's taking sort of a 2D and also a top-down 3D route. And I am definitely looking forward to trying this one out when it's announced, when it comes out supposedly later this year. According to Playtonic, and this is from their website, they also have their FAQ on this. It says, quote, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer is a 2D platform adventure hybrid. Master Yooka-Laylee and Yooka-Laylee a medley of moves and travels through the charming and challenging 2D levels packed to the brim with collections, vibrant environments, and a bumble batch of baddies to battle. Then pull up your adventure boots and explore a sprawling 3D overworld that boasts a wealth of puzzle-challenging secrets, special challenges, and a cast of colorful characters to chat to. You meet some familiar faces and some new ones as you help Queen Phoebus restore order to the royal Stigdom. Apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. What is the Impossible Layer? You're going to have to wait until E3 to learn a little bit more about that and a bunch of other stuff as PR are watching us type this as we fancy staying in their good books. But they did put out an FAQ, and basically on what the FAQ is saying is, first question is, what platform can I buy Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer on? We really want as many people as possible to be able to play it, so we'll be launching Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. I assume PC via Steam. No word if this is coming to the Epic. Basically, right now the trailer they show Steam, but no word if this is coming to the Epic Store or anything like that. Will the game have a physical Switch edition? Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer will be launching digitally across Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC, and we'll also launch a box version on consoles. More details to follow. Will the physical Switch edition be available at retailers? Yes, they say yes. Please keep post and check with your local retailers for availability towards launch. Will it be released on all platforms at the same time? they're saying it will indeed. We're excited to bring Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair to console and PC simultaneously at launch. Is this a sequel to Yooka-Laylee? And according to the FAQ and according to what Playtonics is saying, no, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair isn't a direct sequel. We got lots planned for the future of Yooka-Laylee's universe, but we want to approach each one with a fresh take, as each game is an opportunity for us to add new mechanics and gameplay that isn't necessarily limited to what happened before. When will the game be released? They're saying later this year, probably sooner than you expect. You can keep up to date with any announcement via our Facebook and Twitter page. Will the game be available at E3? They're saying, quote, let's just say more information will follow during E3 weeks, so stay tuned to learn more about Yooka-Laylee's new adventure in a cool way. And finally, who's doing the soundtrack? They're saying, quote, we're thrilled to have both David and Grant back on board for Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. They both contribute to the game and have also been helping to train up our own in-house composer Dan Murdoch and Matt Griffin too. The soundtrack's going to be special. So seeing David Wise doing music on it is really good. I like his music though, especially with the game he worked on last. I think the last one I believe was Snake Pass, but he also did Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. That is certainly nice. So based on the trailer that they showed off so far, it looks like it's almost kind of like a throwback, and I've heard this before from several people, a throwback to their Donkey Kong Country game they worked with Nintendo back in the days, back in the 90s now. And honestly, that's not a bad thing though. The one thing I do want to know is basically is how difficult is the game going to be? Because if we've seen games like Donkey Kong Country Return and Tropical Freeze, those are difficult games. I mean, they're fun, but they were also difficult. And I wonder if that kind of difficulty is going to be in it, though. And also, what's also going to be interesting is the fact that we now know that they are basically going to have a physical edition. And the fact that the Switch is getting a physical edition. Thank God. And the fact that they are planning to release it at retailers is also a plus. So this is definitely one I will keep an eye out for the Nintendo Switch as well. Also, it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC. No word about it coming to the Google Stadia at this time, but I wouldn't rule out if it comes there if it comes there as well. And this is definitely one of the games I will be keeping an eye out for this one. I'm a big fan of 2D platformers as well, so this is one I would keep an eye out on for a bit. It is kind of interesting that they decided to do what sounds like a spin-off or sounds like a sequel in a way, though maybe in the same style as like Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes was. And it is kind of interesting that they decided to do something like this. I would assume maybe they wanted to maybe do a different game or anything like that, but nevertheless, I did enjoy the first Yooka-Laylee, even if it had some issues though, and I'm definitely looking forward to this one as well. Here's to hoping we'll hear more information at a little bit more at E3. I'm very curious to see if other sites will have pre-orders up and running, though we may have to wait a bit until the pre-orders come up. And here's to hoping we hear more from Playtonic. And I would love to see Playtonic maybe, maybe work on a new IP as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad Yooka-Laylee is getting attention, but I would like to see the development team maybe bring back those who, back in the days of games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, I would love to see that team get back again and bring back that rare magic to a certain degree. Modernize some of the controls, but bring back that kind of rare magic. So overall though, I am a fan of 2D platforms. This is one I definitely will be keeping an eye out for when it comes out though. We'll see if this changes people's opinion about those who may have been disappointed with the first Yooka-Laylee game. We'll see if this changes their opinion or not though, but this is definitely one I will be keeping an eye out, especially now that we're learning that a physical version for the Nintendo Switch and that it plans to be released at retailers as well. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the rumors about these available SKUs from GameStop about basically 21 Switch games to 20 PS4 games? Are you curious to see what these games are? Do you have a good idea what these games can be? Excuse me. Do you think some of these games will be announced at E3, or do you think some of these games will be announced at a later date? What are your thoughts about the rumor about Banjo-Kazooie possibly making a comeback? Are you looking forward to that in any way? Do you think the new entry do you think it's going to be a remake? Do you think it's going to be a new entry? Do you think it will capture the magic like the first two Banjo-Kazooie games did? Or do you think that magic is gone in any way? Do you think it will stay only available on Xbox One, or do you think Microsoft might bring it over to PC? Or do you think, given the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo right now, do you think it's possible we could see it come to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about Code Vein's comment in regards of a Switch version? Bandai Namco's comment in regards of a Switch version of Code Vein. Do you think we'll see Code Vein come to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's not going to happen at all? What are your thoughts about the rumor about the collection of mana being filed as a trademark in Europe? Do you think this is a sign that the series is going to be coming over here to the West? Is it a series you are looking forward to trying out if it does come to the West, though? Do you think it will come to the US? Do you think it's one of the cases where it's going to be available in Europe, but only be available digitally in the West? And if a physical version does happen, will you be picking that one up, whether they release a physical version here, or do you plan to import it if there are plans for a physical version? Excuse me. What are your thoughts about the Pokemon Direct? Were you happy with what you saw? Were you not happy with what you saw? Do you like the new multiplayer mode that they're adding to it, or some of the new features in any way? Does this hype up your pick for picking up of the Pokemon Sword and Shield, or has this just reinforced it in any way? What are your thoughts about the announcement that THQ Nordic has made so far? Are you happy with these 3 games that they announced? Are you looking forward to picking up SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated or Remaster? Does Darksiders Genesis interest you in any way? Or does this remake of Destroy All Humans at all interest you at all? Do any of them interest you? Do none of them interest you at all? What are your thoughts about some of the stuff Google talked about in regards to Google Stadia? Are you happy with some of the stuff they announced, though? Does it make it seem more interested to pick up the Google Stadia, or are you taking a wait or see approach, or has this decided, you know what, it's not worth picking up at all? And last but not least, what do you thought about this Yooka-Laylee and the possible layer that Playtonic has announced? Is this a game you were looking forward to playing at all? Was this the announcement you expect they were going to announce, though? Or would you prefer if they had worked on something else? Or are you disappointed with this announcement? Did you like what I said in this video? Did you not like what I said? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, and of course, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!